In the deepest silence of the soul, where we are often haunted by inexplicable doubts, a question arises that few dare to face. How can we unmistakably discern the presence of evil spirits in the midst of our daily lives? Perhaps you have felt that inexplicable unease when entering a room, or noticed a cloud of oppression hanging over an otherwise trivial conversation. These disturbing experiences frequently pass unnoticed, dismissed with skepticism, or cast aside as mere imagination. But what if there was a secret, a vital principle that could uncover hidden darkness and reveal without error that which seeks to manipulate and destroy your inner peace? Over the centuries, Watchman Nee, a master in the art of authentic spiritual life, has guided countless people in the journey toward deep self-knowledge and acute perception of invisible realities. He saw spiritual warfare not just as a battle of abstract concepts, but as a visceral, everyday experience in which every thought, simple gesture, or atmosphere can be saturated with non-innocent influences. Now imagine for a moment how much pain, confusion, and ruin could be avoided if you had in your hands this sharpened discernment, the deadly key capable of instantly separating light from darkness, not through the force of fear, but through the serene mastery of a truth that sets you free. You are about to dive into the revelation that changed destinies and saved countless lives from invisible torment. Get ready to confront what cannot be seen, to face the possibility that your entire perception will be irreversibly expanded. What Watchman Nee taught goes beyond common sense, transcending the boundaries of conventional understanding and reaching the very core of spiritual conflict. Will you have the courage to listen until the end, or will you let the unknown remain lurking in the shadows? When we step onto the battlefield of spiritual life, as Watchman Nee so vividly teaches, nothing is as it seems on the surface. Imagine yourself walking through a dimly lit corridor, each step accompanied by whispers that shift the air around you. There is no visible threat, yet your heart pounds with the urgency of an unseen warning. The world, Nee often reminds us, is not merely a stage of physical events, but a labyrinth of spiritual influences, each vying for a corner in our awareness. It is within these silent wars that the deadly key begins to glimmer, a principle wrapped in mystery, capable of exposing what eyes alone cannot perceive. The journey starts with accepting the possibility that evil is both subtle and persistent, determined to erode our peace when we least expect it. The human heart, vulnerable yet immensely powerful, is Watchman Nee's lantern in the darkness. He describes its capacity to be both a fortress and a fragile vessel, susceptible to the gentle invasion of malignant spirits disguising themselves as familiar emotions. How often have you felt resentment infiltrate a moment that should have been joyful, or sensed a heaviness settle over your soul without reason? Nee's philosophy is clear. To perceive with spiritual clarity, you must first allow yourself to question the origin of every shadow that moves across your thoughts. In embracing this perspective, we begin to detect the faint yet unmistakable signatures of evil's touch, and the first threads of discernment unravel. Yet, Watchman Nee does not leave us in this state of perpetual anxiety. Instead, he offers an awakening, the realization that every believer, regardless of past mistakes, can cultivate an internal sense more refined than instinct. Through the continual practice of surrender, prayer, and self-examination, the soul becomes attuned to God's guidance, and this sensitivity acts as a shield against deception. Mystery lingers. The process is neither simple nor immediate. It demands patience, honesty, and the humility to admit our limitations, but through each encounter with the unknown, our discernment grows, and the deadly key draws closer to our grasp. Nee's journey is punctuated by moments of profound tension, times when spiritual warfare erupts in the most commonplace interactions. He draws us into the subtle drama of thoughts that take root like seeds, slowly blossoming into patterns that dictate our emotions and behaviors. Evil spirits in Nee's worldview thrive on this secrecy, embedding themselves in habits and reactions that we too often overlook. The tension becomes electric, propelling us to search for the breakthrough. How do we interrupt this cycle and reclaim our internal territory? Anticipation fills the air as Watchman Nee leads us to the brink of revelation. The patterns are exposed, the mysteries begin to fade, and what was once hidden emerges in startling clarity. Just as the night surrenders to dawn, the mind is flooded with new awareness, the recognition that every moment is an opportunity to wield the deadly key. In that instant, the shadows retreat and the boundaries of perception expand, forging an unbreakable chain between vigilance and victory. Within the intricate web of daily life, Watchman Nee's wisdom unspools a tapestry of metaphors that help us understand the persistent, insidious nature of spiritual attack. He likens the mind to a garden, beautiful yet vulnerable to weeds that thrive on neglect. These weeds represent the myriad ways that evil can take root in us: slivers of envy, unspoken grudges, and sustained resentment. The spectator is invited to walk among these metaphoric hedges, feeling the discomfort of unchecked growth, aware that the only remedy is active, intentional care. The question nags: how much of our suffering is truly external, and how much springs from seeds sown within unnoticed? Identification emerges as a critical element in Nee's teaching. He compels us to look inward, to recognize the emotions and thoughts that do not originate from our deepest truths. The process is both gentle and ruthless, uncovering layers of self-deception with surgical precision. Imagine the relief, a release from confusion and helplessness, as we begin to name the influences that cloud our spirit. Through identification, the deadly key becomes tangible. It is used not to judge, but to illuminate. Every harmful pattern recognized is a victory against the darkness. Nee intensifies emotional tension by recounting the struggle between surrender and resistance. The viewer is drawn into the drama, moments where pride urges us to maintain control, even as the soul cries out for freedom. The paradox is excruciating. Only in relinquishing our grip do we gain mastery over the forces that seek to enslave us. This tension, Watchman Nee asserts, breaks only when we submit to the wisdom that transcends human understanding. Surrender is not defeat, it is the path to unprecedented strength. Breaking patterns becomes the next focus, the act of defying expectation and transforming reaction. Watchman Nee's technique involves confronting one's own triggers, those situations that reliably provoke distress or bitterness. Imagine standing at the crossroads of reaction, choosing for the first time, not the well-worn path of blame or fear, but the uncharted road of faith and discernment. This interruption cracks the foundation on which evil spirits build their influence, leaving them impotent and exposed. Finally, a sense of anticipation washes over the narrative. The deadly key, once mysterious and distant, is now shaped by experience and conviction. The audience, immersed in the story, feels an urge to test this newfound discernment, seeking out those places where light and darkness contend for dominion. What was once a source of anxiety transforms into a source of empowerment, the insight that we are never helpless in the face of evil, so long as we recognize its signs and wield the key wisely. Watchman Nee's philosophy emphasizes the power of vigilance, a perpetual state of alertness shaped not by paranoia, but by attentive love. Picture a watchman atop an ancient tower, gazing into the night with unwavering resolve. This image serves as the guiding metaphor, inspiring the audience to cultivate their inner sentinel, alert to the smallest shifts in spirit or atmosphere. Vigilance, Nee explains, is not a burden but a blessing, a privilege that comes from knowing whom you serve and what is truly at stake. Storytelling intensifies, as Nee describes encounters in which discernment made the difference between destruction and deliverance. The narrative is charged with real examples. A conversation that might have devolved into anger is transformed through the gentle exercise of spiritual perception. A situation that seemed hopeless is redeemed by a sudden, unexplainable peace. Each moment is presented as a test, a chance to practice the art of detection and emerge victorious against evil's hidden schemes. Emotional connection deepens when Watchman Nee shares his reflections on fellowship, the importance of surrounding oneself with those who share the pursuit of truth and purity. The viewer senses a pattern. The influence of evil spirits weakens where community thrives, where honesty and encouragement dispel the shadows. These relationships become sanctuaries, fortresses in which the deadly key is not owned in isolation, but forged and refined through shared experience. The narrative builds tension by exploring the pain of isolation, the loneliness that comes when spiritual battles are fought in secrecy. Nee's philosophy is compassionate yet direct. Isolation breeds vulnerability, making it easier for evil to disguise its intentions and infiltrate. The audience is challenged to break free of this pattern, to seek out others who understand the gravity of spiritual warfare and the necessity of discernment. Through connection, the journey takes on new meaning and purpose. As the part concludes, anticipation surges once more. The watcher feels the rhythm of story and truth merging, the heartbeat of revelation pulsing louder. The deadly key is not merely a tool, it is a calling, a responsibility bestowed upon those willing to guard the boundaries of their spirit with unwavering devotion. One realizes that the power to detect and defeat evil spirits does not lie in the extraordinary, but in the simplicity of daily vigilant action. Transformation emerges as the central theme, reflecting Watchman Nee's belief that spiritual discernment leads inexorably to renewal. Recalling the metaphor of dawn over darkness, the narrative shifts from mere detection to deliberate change. The viewer is asked to imagine the myriad ways discernment alters reality, a thought redirected from bitterness to compassion, a step taken away from temptation toward integrity. Each transformation is small yet seismic, shifting the axis of spiritual conflict toward victory. Emotional triggers abound as Nee recounts stories of struggle and triumph. The tension between old habits and new convictions crackles like a thunderstorm. The process of change is rarely linear but always purposeful. The audience is primed to empathize with the labor of personal reformation, the moments of doubt, exhaustion, and resurgence. Through each cycle, the deadly key proves itself indispensable, serving as both compass and shield. Anticipation heightens with the promise of lasting impact. Watchman Nee crafts a compelling vision of ongoing growth, an adventure without finality, where discernment continues to expand alongside faith. Patterns are made to be broken, boundaries to be redefined. Every experience of spiritual conflict is reinterpreted as an invitation to deeper understanding, forgiveness, and healing. The narrative draws the audience into communal change. Nee describes gatherings where individuals share tales of victory and defeat, weaving together a tapestry of hope and resilience. Isolation is shattered, replaced by the strength of collective discernment. The deadly key, once the privilege of the few, now becomes the legacy of many, a gift passed from hand to hand, heart to heart. As this part closes, a final surge of curiosity and anticipation remains. The spectator senses a threshold approaching, not an ending but a new beginning. With each chapter, the wisdom of Watchman Nee is revealed in detail, inviting every viewer to step forward and claim the transformation promised by discernment. The journey ascends to its climax, as Watchman Nee challenges his audience to embrace their role in the grand design of spiritual victory. The text flows with evocative imagery, a tapestry woven with threads of sacrifice, courage, and relentless hope. The deadly key, now fully revealed, is more than a means of detection. It is the cornerstone upon which a life of meaning is built. Tension simmers as the audience faces the ultimate question. Will you use this knowledge and step into the light, or shrink back and allow darkness to dictate your story? Emotional resonance deepens as Nee's teachings wrap themselves around the raw aches of human experience. The conflicts each person faces, betrayal, loss, temptation, are reframed as opportunities to practice discernment and resist evil's subtle lure. Identification with this struggle is nearly universal. Everyone, regardless of background, yearns for liberation from forces that undermine joy and purpose. Watchman Nee's compassion and conviction shine through, inspiring confidence in the possibility of change. The narrative builds toward a crescendo, fusing anticipation with urgency. Patterns are not merely broken, they are replaced with new rituals, new ways of relating, new relationships that act as anchors against the tide. Each pause, each moment of reflection, is imbued with significance. The deadly key becomes an extension of the soul's desire for truth and wholeness. Tension breaks like a wave as the watcher recognizes their place in the unfolding story. Far from passive observers, they are active participants, capable of wielding the deadly key with wisdom, humility, and courage. The story does not resolve into complacency. Instead, it incites a hunger for further discovery, growth, and connection. Anticipation lingers, electric and unresolved. The journey is ongoing, the next revelation waiting just beyond the horizon. Watchman Nee's voice echoes, reminding each soul that darkness never has the final word. The deadly key remains within reach, ready to be grasped by those willing to pursue discernment with heart, mind, and spirit fully awakened. As the journey through Watchman Nee's wisdom gently draws to a close, a profound silence seems to settle, a silence electric with revelation. The voices of doubt and fear that once prowled unseen corners have now been unmasked by the steady glow of discernment. No longer are you a mere bystander in your own spiritual narrative. You have crossed invisible thresholds, seeing with clarity what once hid in shadow. Each memory, each moment of struggle and surrender becomes a testament to your awakening and the power of the deadly key you now hold. Reflect for a moment on how your perception has shifted. The garden of the mind, once overgrown with unchecked anxieties and silent invaders, now flourishes with intention, vigilance, and hope. Discernment, as Watchman Nee taught, is not an isolated act but a continual living proof of your willingness to search deeper, to challenge appearances, and to trust in something greater than what meets the eye. You are now armed not with fear but with understanding, the unyielding strength born from honest confrontation with the forces that seek to pull you astray. Every chapter unfolded here points toward the ultimate truth. Spiritual warfare is as intimate as a whisper and as global as the tides. It is fought not in distant realms, but in the inner chambers of your thoughts, your relationships, your daily choices. To wield the deadly key is to live with courage, humility, and a fierce commitment to your own transformation. You are invited not merely to resist darkness, but to radiate light, becoming, yourself, a beacon for those still veiled in confusion. Step forward now, carrying with you the legacy of this journey. Let the teachings of Watchman Nee linger in your actions, shaping your responses to adversity, your openness to mystery, and your pursuit of truth. Ask yourself, in the quiet of your heart, what patterns still govern my life in secrecy, and am I brave enough to reach for the key and break them forever? The echo of this question will accompany you, challenging you to peer ever deeper and walk ever truer. If this reflection has stirred something within you, if you feel the call to discernment resonating as an untold melody, do not let it fade away. Allow yourself to comment, to share your thoughts, to engage with others on this path. Embrace the community gathering here by subscribing and inviting others to experience this revelation. Let your participation be the affirmation that you, too, are part of a new generation, one awakened, vigilant, and ready to rewrite its own story under the gentle authority of wisdom that endures.